I wouldn't go through this war for anything again, but I wouldn't sell my experience. What I have is something you couldn't buy. One who hasn't gone through this could never imagine it. It's every day being together, almost getting killed, helping one another.
In April 1945, Franco Cotta fought in the rugged mountains of northern Italy. As a sergeant in the United States Army, he was in the attack on the German Gothic line. Today, he is a landscape architect in Gardena, California. Rolf Frank, formerly of Berlin, is a tool and die maker living in Huntington Park, California. In 1945, as a sergeant in the German Wehrmacht's 278th Division, he too fought in Italy as a soldier in the Gothic line.
Es ist eine schlimme Sache, wenn man weiß, what an awful thing it is when you know you can't win, but you have to fight. If you quit, the next man thinks you are a coward. So each soldier says to himself, if he stays, I stay.
In the last great battle in Italy, the lives of Franco Cotta and Rolf Frank come together for a brief moment. Two fighting men, one American, one German, relive that moment in history. I'm Jim Bishop. By the fall of 1944, German troops are still fighting bitterly all the way. In Italy, ahead of the advancing Allies, stretches the valley of the Po River. Its capture would mean air bases within range of heavy industry in South Germany. By winter, the iron-hard resistance of the Germans' Gothic line stalemates the battle. To cut the German line, something special will be required. Something very special. January 1942. On the west coast of the United States, 110,000 Japanese and Japanese Americans, citizens and aliens alike, are ordered to close their shops and homes. They are moved to relocation camps far inland. Even the Japanese Americans within the armed forces are classified non-combat and denied the right to fight for their country. January 28, 1943. The War Department announces it will accept loyal Japanese-American volunteers for combat from the continental United States. 10,000 applications are received. 3,000 are accepted. 2 days later, the 442nd Regimental Combat Team is formed at Camp Shelby, Mississippi. Most of the men of Japanese descent who come to Shelby were born in the United States. They are called Nisei. One of the volunteers is 22-year-old Franco Cotta.
Everything we do, we try to do faster and better. At Camp Shelby, we know that we have to prove ourselves. With that in mind, we form the slogan, Go for Broke. Live, die, or otherwise, you just go all out.
Also incorporated in the team is the 100th Infantry Battalion, composed of Hawaiians of Japanese ancestry. In August 1943, the Hawaiian section is sent to the European theater for combat, and the 442nd continues its training at Camp Shelby.
Our company has men from every walk of life. Nisei, boys who were born here. Kibeis, boys born in the United States but raised in Japan. Kanakas, boys from Hawaii. One day at Camp Shelby, we stand IG inspection. A general comes by, looks at us, and then says, "These boys are ready." Someone next to me says, "That's the kiss of death right there." Right after that, we get shipped out.
June 10th, 1944. The 442nd arrives in Italy and is rejoined by the battle-tested 100th Battalion. From the rugged crossing of the Rapido River to the storming of Monte Cassino, through Salerno, Anzio, through the bloodiest fighting in southern France and Italy, the 442 has won for itself a special reputation.
Our outfit was formed to spearhead and fight in the mountains. When we get into battle, we just go right ahead. Our casualties are high. Men who go into the hospital want to get out and return to the front line. Otherwise, they figure they are wasting their time. One fellow from the islands, more educated than the rest, is always brushing his teeth and combing his hair. Everybody kids him. What the heck? I guess he wants to die looking clean. The first week in battle, he gets it. He gets hit while brushing his teeth. Of course, if you rest around too long, you don't want to go up on the line. You start thinking how good it is to live. While you're up there, you don't think about living.
Stretched across the rugged Apennine Mountains is the last German line of defense in northern Italy, the Gothic line. 16 German divisions dug in for a last-ditch battle. The line is solid. As spring approaches, it is made ready for the expected Allied offensive. One of the soldiers manning the Gothic line is a 26-year-old veteran of the Russian and Italian campaigns, Sergeant Rolf Frank.
It will come, the day when we pull back to the Alps, and that is what we will try to do. But now we must stop them, so that we have a chance to pull back. Here in the mountains, it is easy to defend. You dig yourself in so the enemy can't see you. You can keep them down with only machine guns. But actually, we have only 80 shots for our cannons a day. We can fire them. We have to have special permission. During the day, it is almost impossible to travel because of enemy fighters. They pick you up and come down for even a single man on the road. Whatever they see moving, they come down for.
With complete air superiority, the Allies have reduced communications between the Gothic line and the German homeland to a thread. Operation Strangle, as the punitive bombing is called, makes the movement of supplies or men extremely hazardous. Those that make it through make it only at night. The Allied battle plan calls for 2 diversionary attacks, one on either side of the Gothic line, a few days apart, to draw German forces away from the center. Then, a week later, the major assault, ramrodding through the center of the line straight for Bologna and command of the Po Valley. March 1945, the 442nd moves to Leghorn, Italy. It is to be a part of the 92nd Division. The 442 moves up to spearhead the diversionary attack on the left. Jump-off is less than a week away. By now, their reputation as a top U.S. troubleshooting team has been solidly established. April 5th, 1945. The big guns of the American artillery signal the beginning of the 442nd diversionary attack on the German Gothic line.
They told us that Mount Belvedere was going to be steep, but they didn't say how steep. This thing is almost straight up, and the enemy is on top. I say to the captain, "You'll get us slaughtered when we get up there." I imagine they're waiting. He says, "I imagine."
When the shelling starts, the whole ground shakes, and all around you hear crying, and there's no enemy to see. We expect an attack, but we thought it would come from up north, like at Anzio.
Ahead of the 442 lies Mount Belvedere and German troops that have had 5 months to harden their defense line. April 5th, 1945. The U.S. 442nd Regimental Team strikes for Mount Belvedere and a break through the German Gothic line. Assigned the defense of Mount Belvedere is the crack machine gun battalion Kesselring. The veteran German troops bar the way with a crossfire of mortar and machine gun fire.
You know, if they got one guy sitting there with a machine gun, he can hold up the attack for hours. One man, one machine gunner can cut you to ribbons, and you can't even see him.
You fight, you fight, you fight, and suddenly they come again, and again, and again. They do it all the time. I don't know why. And they lose a lot of people, a lot of people.
The only way to get them is to go in and dig them out. We call it a bonsai attack. God, do we lose men.
Days after the attack, in spite of heavy German reinforcements brought in from the center of the line, Mount Belvedere falls.
The Germans we capture know we're Japanese, but they can't figure out why we're fighting them. Isn't Germany allied with Japan? So we tell them, haven't you heard? Japan is now fighting with the Allies.
April 9th, the British 8th Army begins the second diversionary attack. Hits the Germans on the other end of the line. The main 5th Army attack through the center of the German line is held up because of bad weather. The 442nd Spearhead moves out so far in front that their supply columns can't keep pace.
We have them on the run, and we want to keep them on the run, hoping that the other end of our line will move along too. You get out here and you wonder what the heck it's all about. Then you realize you're shooting because if you don't, you're going to get shot. When you come right down to it, infantry fighting throughout the world is not fought on a big basis. It is fought by squads and companies.
Now under attack at both ends of the line, the major blow in the middle catches the Germans off balance. The 90th Panzer Grenadier Division is rushed to the front. It's a desperate attempt to prevent a complete breach in the line. It's the last German reserve division in Italy, and it is committed before the attack is 1 day old. 3 days after the main attack, the Gothic line begins to crumble. 5th Army commands the heights, and beneath them stretches the valley of the Po.
They send those big airplanes, the flying fortresses, to make it easier for them. And we feel like trapped rats. I'm maybe 3 or 4 kilometers away from the front lines. I notice an awful fire and the airplanes. We have to sometimes hide, and later we have no chance to hide at all. Now there is not enough left to make a real front. I figure my life is not worth much now. Gets a message, there is a breakthrough. Everybody tries to leave and go north. Some with trucks, some without trucks. Any way they can. This area is all mountains. It is hard to proceed.
By April 18th, the 5th and 8th Armies are converging on Bologna. 3 days later, the American 34th Division fights its way into the city. The race for the Alps is on. All along the Fifth Army front, German forces are trying to break away, to slip out from under the Allied heel. The Germans' last hope, reach the Po River before the Allies.
We can't walk by day. By night, we can't proceed either. I talk with men from the tanks and they have to blow them up because of no gasoline. And we have to destroy our weapons or else the enemy will get them. Everybody is running, running, running. They don't care about anything. I'm 24 years old, and I'm really an old man. There are some fellows only 18, and they are dead already. I know that many of the others feel the same way, that we will be lucky if we stay alive until the end of the war. You have a chance to survive if you become a prisoner. Survival. It's a matter of survival.
April 28th, elements of the American 1st Armored reached the foot of the Alps. Now the Gothic line is only a memory, and the German retreat has turned into a rout. April 29th, the entire German 148th Division surrenders. At 2 p.m. on the same day, the German High Command in Italy agrees that full surrender should be effective on May 2nd. In just 19 days, the Allies have driven from the Apennines to the Alps and have brought the war in Italy to an end. Sergeant Rolf Frank, captured by the Fifth Army, spends 10 months in U.S. prison camps and finally returns to his home in Berlin. Frank Okada, now a first sergeant, spends the rest of the war in northern Italy. By the time the men of the 442nd come home, they have received more than 18,000 individual decorations, more presidential citations than any other unit in U.S. history. President Truman awarding them their 7th citation for their role in the Gothic Line campaign said at the time, "You are now on your way home. You fought not only the enemy, but you fought prejudice, and you won."